Welcome back to Burning Down the House. In today's video, we're going to talk about the 10 signs your parent is a narcissist. This is part of a 10 sign series I've created for easy reference. You can find it in the 10 sign series playlist on this channel, along with other videos related to narcissism, toxic relationships, setting boundaries, and practicing self-care. I think we can all agree that parenting is not an easy job. Even the most caring, responsible parents make mistakes from time to time, and every family has its ups and downs. But a narcissistic parent is different. A parent who is pathologically narcissistic is incapable of demonstrating genuine love for their child and feels threatened by their independence. Their child is merely a tool to further their agenda, make them look good, or fulfill their needs. And this toxic dynamic doesn't automatically change once the child becomes an adult. In fact, the narcissistic parent tends to become worse over time. Maybe this sounds familiar or describes your upbringing, or maybe recent events or family conflicts have you wondering whether your mother or father is narcissistic. The reality is narcissism operates on a spectrum, and some narcissistic behaviors are subtler than others. So, how do you know if you're dealing with a narcissistic parent? Consider the following 10 signs. Sign number 1, their love is conditional. This is one of the hallmarks of a narcissistic parent. Rather than love you and accept you for who you are, your narcissistic parent expects you to live up to their expectations. They expect you to marry a certain type of person, to follow a certain career path, or practice a certain belief system. They don't see you as a separate person with your own identity and values. Rather, your worth is entirely contingent on your ability to reflect well on them. And sometimes this transactional relationship becomes a lifelong cycle of catering to your parents' happiness at the expense of your own. Sign number 2, they use emotional blackmail. Emotional blackmail is when your parent uses fear, obligation, and guilt to manipulate you into meeting their demands. Walk out that door and you'll be sorry. After all I've done for you! Well, at least your brother still knows what family means. You don't want children? How could you do this to me? If you don't come down for the holidays, people are going to think we're having family problems. Is that what you want? Other forms of emotional blackmail include the silent treatment, withholding money or material resources, or making outright threats of violence. The reality is your narcissistic parent is struggling with their own fears and insecurities and feels threatened by your autonomy. I mean, think about it. Anyone who's confident and secure with themselves isn't interested or invested in trying to change the other person. By being a separate person with your own wants, needs, and beliefs, you challenge your narcissistic parent's ego and their entire worldview. If they can convince you that you're selfish, disrespectful, or ungrateful, if they can get you to cave and comply with their wishes, then they're validated and reassured. By using emotional blackmail as their first line of defense, they don't have to engage in any self-reflection, critical thinking, or face the growing cracks in the relationship. Sign number 3, they invalidate you. Every time you try to express yourself, your narcissistic parent minimizes or dismisses your feelings. They tell you you're being too sensitive or blowing things out of proportion, or that you're not allowed to feel angry or sad. Maybe they're really cruel and cold and swiftly shut you down, or maybe they try to make everything a joke and tell you to lighten up. Similar to emotional blackmail, your narcissistic parent doesn't like it when you speak your truth because it forces them to confront their own painful feelings and examine their life choices. Instead of showing empathy or trying to see things from your point of view, your narcissistic parent is only interested in their feelings and their interpretation of events. Sign number 4, they gaslight you. This is when your narcissistic parent tries to get you to doubt your memory, judgment, or sanity. They'll tell you that certain events never happened or that you're not remembering things clearly. And when you attempt to call them out on their toxic behavior, they lie, deny, and deflect until you end up feeling confused, defeated, and wondering if you are overreacting or if you are remembering things wrong. But you're not. Your narcissistic parent knows exactly what happened, is fully aware of their behavior, and is using gaslighting to destabilize and discredit you. Rather than have an open, honest discussion, they manipulate and exploit your vulnerabilities to make you look like you're the crazy one in the family, so they can gain control over you and any narratives they've created. Sign number 5, they're obsessed with their image. Narcissists are obsessed with how they look to outsiders, and this can manifest itself in various ways. Maybe your narcissistic parent is obsessed with being popular and tries to maintain a superficial lifestyle or status in the community that ultimately doesn't serve them. Or maybe it's that your narcissistic parent behaves one way in public but is completely different behind closed doors. For instance, at work or at church, everything seems perfect on the outside, but at home, they're miserable, abusive, and like to sow discord in the family. If there's substance abuse or some other form of abuse, they expect you to lie and keep secrets so as not to tarnish the family's reputation. And again, no family is perfect, and I'm not saying that your private family business should be everyone's business. The key difference is that a narcissistic parent doesn't care how these toxic dynamics affect you and will always sacrifice their family relationships to preserve their image. Sign number 6, they're codependent. In a healthy parenting relationship, the child relies on the parent to fulfill their emotional needs. But with a narcissistic parent, it's the other way around. They'll say things like, "I can't survive without you," or "No one will ever love you as much as I love you." And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a close, supportive relationship with your parents, the difference is that a narcissistic parent fails to enforce the emotional and psychological boundaries needed to protect you first and foremost. They inappropriately expect you to be their therapist, best friend, and close confidant. Instead of learning how to manage their emotions and solve their own problems, they make you responsible for their happiness and will even go so far as to guilt trip you and shame you when you don't drop everything in your life to cater to them. Sign number 7, they criticize and marginalize. We're not talking about parents who offer constructive criticism or healthy discipline that leads to their child becoming an ethical and responsible adult. Instead, this narcissistic parent likes to shame, belittle, and humiliate you. They're overly critical and like to point out all your mistakes and perceived flaws. And no matter how old you are, they'll always try to put you in your place. They'll always be wiser than you, prettier than you, or more successful. Rather than feel loved and supported, your narcissistic parent leaves you feeling like you're never enough. Sign number 8, they try to control you. Another common trait of a narcissistic parent is their desperate need for control. This can include a lack of respect for your personal space or belongings, or trying to control other aspects of your life, like your clothing, or finances, or who you can date and marry. In a healthy parenting relationship, the parent will offer guidance, but will ultimately allow the child space to individuate or develop into their own person. A narcissistic parent, on the other hand, has no respect for your physical, emotional, or psychological boundaries and can't handle the idea of other influences entering your life. Sign number 9, they put you on a pedestal. Compared to the other signs on this list, I realize this sounds counterintuitive, but the truth is, some narcissistic parents project their own narcissism onto their child, lifting and exalting their child up, putting their child on a pedestal. Ever heard of the golden child? And of course, it's totally normal for a parent who loves their child and is proud of them to want to show them off and talk about their talents and all the cute things they do. But a narcissistic parent does this to make themselves look good. They put you on a pedestal to prop themselves up. Doesn't my child make me look good? They're holy, successful, popular, and this puts me in a good position. I look good to others in the community. Nope, it's not about you at all. In fact, the second you make a perceived mistake in their mind, the second you make them look bad by saying, "I don't want to be a ballerina," or "I don't want to stay with the church anymore," or "I don't want to do XYZ or be a doctor," or whatever it is, they will knock you off that pedestal in a heartbeat. And it is a hard, nasty fall. And sign number 10, you're scared to stand up to them. Honestly, this is the simplest, fastest way to tell if your parent is a narcissist. If you know you can't express yourself openly and honestly without severe repercussions, this should be a glaring red flag. Now, assuming one loves their parents and wants a close relationship with them, no one purposely sets out to hurt their parents. But if you can't just be yourself, if it's dangerous to have your own beliefs and opinions as a grown adult, it might be time to reassess the relationship. The bottom line is, the negative impact of a narcissistic parent can last a lifetime. However, by setting boundaries and speaking to a trusted friend or therapist, you can begin to process these experiences and heal from your narcissistic parent's painful legacy. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you found this content helpful. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button for future videos, and I'll see you next time.